Hey everyone, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Pokemon Gold. This is turn 60. We are playing Cyanwood City. Let's jump into the turn. Okay, so this is actually a really big turn. And for a number of reasons. Some really exciting shit happened. So we're gonna go through everything like we normally do, and then we're gonna talk about some of the really exciting things that happened, and well, the big exciting thing that happened, and how that is potentially going to open up a lot of options for us, as well as point out some dumb mistakes that I have made in the past. Which is, I mean, that's average, right? That's totally what I normally do. So let's jump into turn. Okay. So we didn't complete any research this turn. We're on our way to Thaumaturgy 8, but we got a couple of different magic sites. We found a gorge in the Great Dunes, so that's a +1 Earth. Always nice to find more Earth. Apsu got nothing, Auspex got nothing, Arcane Probing got a Crystal Garden in the Hobergdorf. That's also a +1. We got a report from Cyanwood City. A hostile spell has been stopped by the Astral Dome, which is great. Very pleased about that. We cast Articuno Quest, and there's no, normally when you cast a unique summoning spell like this, you get some sort of confirmation or a pity message, basically saying like no one responded. I don't know that we got the Articuno, but there's no confirmation or anything like that. I don't know if the mod creator plans on. We cast Dark Knowledge, found nothing. We cast Augury, found nothing. And we cast a Lugia quest. We also got the Lugia. So, really cool. Didn't get any Blood Slaves. And then we got a bunch of battles. So, we have an Olivine City guitarist attempted to charm one of our pearls. So, let's watch this real quick. And this is just fun because these guitarists absolutely should be incredibly threatening individuals. The problem is that the Skarmory just always sits back and does air slash, which is kind of like a very random chance of maybe popping an enemy. If this guy were to fly in and actually attack, this guitarist would win a lot of assassinations without having to worry about herself, just off the back of the Skarmory. But that's never what happens. So a Pearl versus a guitarist is a very meh matchup, except if we go Iron Skin, we go some Earth Power. Got her interrupted on the Iron Skin. So now we have the Iron Skin up. And Frozen Heart. Oh. And Frozen Heart. so for whatever reason, it's because this is our Apsu caster. So she has a water bracelet on, so she's spamming Frozen Heart and gets the kill on the guitarist, and now the Skarmory is just gonna be like, okay, well, bye. And it's funny because she's got 22 protection, so that's actually pretty nice. So the Skarmory just flies. That was pretty fun. So we've got a bunch of attacks against us with Olivine City basically taking their land back. So in Farron Mountains we lost, in World Pillar we lost, in Obsidian Waste we lost, in Woods of Weeping we actually attacked and won. Fearos, I'm basically convinced are pretty much crap. They're too weak. They should have more hit points than they do. These guys, this is a tier 2 unit. This guy should have like 15, 20 hit points at least, right? So that when he comes down, he doesn't just immediately get obliterated. But we did win. We won in Violet City against PD. We attacked in Kratos, and we were beaten. So this is, I think, the second turn that he's just left that Steelix champion there. And I've just come in with non-Steelix counters to try to raid the province back. And we haven't really lost a lot off of it. But we're continuously getting rebuffed, basically. We attacked in Banded Hills and won. We were attacked in Trouble Bog and lost. We attacked in Berman Highs and won. We actually did lose a single black belt, which is unfortunate. We lost it to a Giraffarig. We got attacked in Nifle, lost. Got attacked in Lost Canyon range against the Steelixes. Well, let's watch this real quick just to check their gear. So 3 Steelixes, and this is Into the Abyss I Shall Send Thee, who has a great sword and a bottle. And thus we regret a great sword and a bottle. And everybody dies. A bottle and a lodestone, no great sword. But they're just up against the I love that for whatever reason we just get swarms of Poliwags to do, like, it does not seem like this would be the Cyanwood City scenario, is swarms of Poliwags, but whatever. You know, it's fine. So we are crushed utterly there. But we get a unexpected event in Griffin Rock. A treasure has been found. We got a massive amount of gold, a bunch of gems, and a brazen vessel. So brazen vessel is a +1 blood item, which is super cool. It would be really, really awesome if I ever get anything blood. I think we might try to aim towards Lamia Queens or something like that to break into blood. But we're pretty far away as far as nature gems. And we're probably not going to be any closer because of a couple of different things that we've run into that we will talk about in the near future. So, moving forward, we had an unexpected event in Vipitre, which is unrest and misfortune. That kind of sucks. We got luck. Someone gained the Throne of Fortune, so luck worldwide. Dragon Scale, whatever, cured some afflictions, got a whole bunch of promotions this turn. Nice. Okay, so let's start off. Actually, let's end off with the big news, because the big news is in Cyanwood City, so that's where we normally end anyways, so we'll have a nice ending topic to discuss. So we'll go through all of the different fronts first. First, over in Olivine City, pretty much normal stuff going on here. We're going to continue to counter raid, but our ability to do so has been greatly reduced by the losses that we've taken to our flying units. We're just going to bounce around here or there, hit some places with Modic, hit some places with Limerick. We're jumping into Farron Mountains with Dolgad. Right, so we're still going to try to do some limited raiding here or there, but we don't have a very big effect on that right now. Additional news in Olivine City, Atlantis, this turn I believe, has ended their non-aggression pact with Olivine City. They reached out to me, Atlantis reached out to me and asked how I felt about them raiding or taking coastal provinces. I'm not super happy about it, because basically what that means is that I'm probably going to lose Olivine City unless they just really don't want to take the fight. I assume that part of the point is that they're wanting to try to make a land grab. That is not super bueno, especially considering the amount of work that I've put into fighting them. But at the same time, I'm not really in a big position to argue. Now, I will say this in Atlantis' defense. Atlantis came to me and asked me if I had a problem with it. Okay? Asked me if I wanted this to remain some sort of like 1v1 duel. And I don't. I don't care about it being some honorable war or what have you. That I don't give a shit about. So I'm not going to say, no, Atlantis, I don't want you coming in, for a number of reasons. One, because I am perfectly fine with Atlantis attacking. Will I be bummed if I get less of the spoils than I originally thought? Sure. Will I be ecstatic if this fucking war ends up being half the time to finish than what it could be? Fuck yeah. I'm tired of this war, especially because of other things that are now on my plate. So there are pros and cons to Atlantis coming in this scenario, but I am mostly okay with it. Okay. But the upsides are more than the downsides. Obviously, I would rather have beaten Olivine City and won this whole thing and etc. But gotten all of his land, etc. But it is what it is. So see how it goes. Um, but Atlantis is, like I said, ending their non-aggression pact. So it's gonna be a couple turns before they actually attack. So that being said, we are already in the motions of moving armies towards Olivine City's land. So we'll try to make a good land grab. I would love to be able to take these areas. I'd love to get Olivine City, but if I don't get it, I don't. Okay, so moving from there down into, we'll go to Saffron City next. So in Saffron City, because of our windfall this turn, we had a nice little boom in money, and once again, we are recruiting another Steelix champion. We're bringing Robodan and Seskaloo back to Saffron City. And we are patrolling with them in order to protect the city itself. We're also basically we're pulling the trigger on moving things from Cyanwood. So we're in a couple turns, right? We will no longer just be patrolling in Saffron City. We will be reinforced, and then we will be moving towards Olivine. So in the meantime, we're just going to try to protect things. Over here in the Great Dunes, we're actually building a lab. Just because it would be nice to be able to recruit Pyroflegathons if we need to. I would also, kind of what my plan is once I get over here, I will be able to fly Robodan over to the Great Dunes, and this is what this is what I have these boots of flying for, right? And I'd love to have a couple of pairs of these, because they're pretty cheap. I might make other things though. There are other good movement boots. But I can basically fly Robodan over, claim, fly him back, etc. And just put his army on somebody else for the meantime. So that's something that we're doing, okay? And then I think are we doing, oh, okay, so in Omicria, we've got some interesting stuff. In Omicria, we have our goon squad of Spiccato, Zenario, Starwald, and Wosen is heading towards Kratos. Now, he's set here for 2 turns. I kind of anticipate him not staying there for a 3rd turn. But whether he stays there or doesn't stay there, we should be able to take this province back with this group. And if he does stay there, I think this will be a good show, a good test of their capabilities of Spiccato, Zenario, and Starwald, and Wosen, whether or not the Black Belt Go Goon Squad can take on a Steelix, or whether or not we need more as far as reinforcements go. I think this will probably be okay. I'm questioning this Vision's Foe. I don't think it's gonna really be worthwhile, but I got it, so, and I don't really want to spend Earth Gems at the moment, so it is what it is. We're gonna see how it goes. Okay. All right, what else are we doing? Over in the Violet City front. So we're moving around a little bit here. Partially what we're doing is we are patrolling with Ishkur, Simios, and Zenville. And, we're patrolling with Ishkur, Simios, and Zenville, and then we are moving Tarbal over to Kunal and patrolling with him. Just because he has a little bit more mobility, he can kind of, actually, Ishkur and Simios can do the same thing. But we're trying to make sure that we keep locations covered, right? We don't want to just allow him to start hitting me with Steelix Raiders again without any issue. We're gonna try to start patrolling this shit down so we can actually make some money off of Violet City. But we're also just holding here because in a couple turns, we're sending Wiglia down, and once she gets to 3 Pine Grove, she's just gonna pick up Yazar's army and come back. Okay? And once Yazar's army gets here, then it'll be Zenville's army, and then we march, right? So this This army is going to go up the side and go for things like Lost Canyon Range, Forest of Gun, etc., right? So that's going to be happening in a couple of turns. So going from Violet City, kind of down into the Viridian City area, we'll hit up through Pine Grove. So we are continuing to recruit schoolgirls here. So in 1-2 turns, once Wiglia gets here, right, we will have 7 schoolgirls. Also of note, Kuya actually is an incredibly rare schoolgirl because she got a 10% random. That was also astral. That is incredibly rare. So this is a really cool schoolgirl. It's not really gonna like matter very much to us probably in the long run, but it does potentially open up some I don't know, interesting options. We'll see. Not this. If it weren't for other things that were happening this turn, I would be super excited about this. But because of other things that happened, now I'm like, this is cool. This is okay. Whatever, you know. But regardless, we're gonna have a little group of schoolgirls to be able to bring along with the army, and we can do pretty simple stuff, nothing like crazy, but we can do things like communion up and soul slay spam, etc., right? And at the scenario that they are, it's unlikely that the soul slay spam is actually going to do anything, because they probably can't get through the magic resistance of the Steelixes. But they can get through the magic resistance of other targets. And there are some other options that we could potentially do. And it's also possible that next turn we forge some penetration gear. But we'll see. We have a couple of options. We might not end up utilizing the schoolgirls, but we might bring them as a small cadre, just not to deal with Steelixes, because we can deal with Steelixes, but to deal with potentially other things, right? Because Soul Slay spam might not work for Steelixes, but it might work for other potential targets. And there's other things besides Soul Slay spam. You know? So, in Kunal, the only special thing that we're doing here is forging a rat tail. And I'll talk about that why in a second. But I'm assuming some people who are watching this are immediately going, fucking finally, you idiot. And I'm like, okay, sure. Didn't realize that was going to work that way, but sure, fair enough. So, moving on, in Viridian City, we are... the only real big thing, we are recruiting, but the only real big thing that we're doing is we're actually moving... who are we moving? We're actually moving Zarin, and we're moving Zarin with our squad of Amphiroses. So these are very high precision boyos, 16 precision thunder attack, 5 of these, right? It's very high. And they're going to be set to fire on archers, which is mostly like a backline tactic. So this is 29 times 5 thunders that are decent and very accurate. And armor negating. So this is potentially going to be a very fun little, I don't know, artillery division. And we're bringing them over the mountains, right? Because apparently Zarin can move directly with them to Three Pine Grove, and they're going to make up another portion of the army moving forward, right? So we'll have a division of Astral Mages, we'll have some Lightning Caster or Lightning Amphiroses, we'll have all of the Black Belts that we already have, etc. Along with things like Steelix Champions, etc. So this should be a pretty formidable army. I'm hoping that it's going to be able to deal with quite a few things. Fingers crossed. What else is happening? Down here in Viridian City, not a whole lot else is happening. I am moving this nurse around to site search for Holy in locations now, just cuz. But otherwise, the only thing that's really of note is that Vermilion City has moved into the curtain wall. So they pulled the trigger on that before we could. Good for them. But that means that in order to lock down my 4 thrones, right, I'm going to have to get cozy or aggressive with Vermilion City. We'll see how it goes. But I have no interest in this anytime soon, right? I do want to win. I think winning would be really cool, but we are very far away from winning at the moment. In fact, we got to start kind of worrying about Pewter City, because they only have 3 thrones, but really they actually have more like 6 thrones in their territories or adjacent to their territories. So we've got to start watching out. So they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one I think is actually an Ekrut. So they've got like 5 in their territory, maybe 6. But they've got, one right next to them, one right next to them, and a couple of the ones that are right next to them are no longer controlled or about to no longer be controlled by an actual player. They're controlled by AI. So that's a problem. It's possible that Pewter just snags the game, and I don't have a lot that I can really do against it at the moment, which is another reason why I'm okay with Atlantis jumping in and helping finish off Olivine City, so that I can start focusing on moving against Pewter City, because I think that I'm probably one of the only people in the game. I think Atlantis can, and I think I can fight against Pewter City, but yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Anyways, so that's what's going on in Viridian City. Over in Cyanwood, we've got a couple of different things going on in Impassable Mountains. We are, of course, continuing our production of the Mareep factory. We are getting back close to having too many Mareeps, so we are actually sneaking Lobomater down to escort more Amphiroses back up to Saffron City, right? We've already got an 80 stack here. We will potentially be bringing even more up there and utilizing them against Olivine City in the final push, or positioning ourselves against other options. We might be moving towards Violet City in the future, or we might be moving towards Celadon City in the future. And I think in either direction, a group of 80 Amphiroses is a pretty nice option. It's suddenly we're fighting against things that aren't the Steelixes that are unkillable God Kings, and suddenly we have way more options than we previously did. So, okay, jumping into Cyanwood. This is where we have a whole lot of really important, really cool stuff going on. So one thing that we're doing immediately, you can see Chuck is on the move. He is taking a big ol' unit of Black Belts, Jolteons, and Espions for a ride. He's gonna take for a ride. Da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. Anyways, and this is a pretty threatening army on its own, right? But along the way, we're potentially gonna pick up some casters to go along with it. We have a goon squad that we can potentially bring along with it. We might bring Tarball over to give it some more oomph. We should have at least 1, if not 2 more Steelixes produced by the time we get there. We've got gear for another one at least. And that's a big deal, right? So we are on the move, finally on the move, with an army from Cyanwood City. Great. So, what else are we doing? We're casting Kyogre Quest, because we were successful casting Articuno Quest, we were successful casting the Lugia Quest. We're gonna cast Kyogre Quest and see what that gets us. I we got some really interesting results from the Articuno and Lugia quest that we will check in just a second. But I think that irregardless of that, just having uniques is fun, right? Having legendary Pokemon is fun, and I think I would probably I'm in the mood to where this probably still isn't the greatest use of. Okay, well, because of how it turned out, this is absolutely the greatest use of water gems. But this Kyogre quest might not be the greatest use of water gems, and in the future, this probably isn't the greatest use of water gems, etc. But I don't really care. I'm having fun casting the spells and getting unique units, so I'm probably going to continue doing it. After this, once we get to Thaumaturgy 8, we still have a Suicune and by the way, I've probably butcher that pronunciation. I've never known how to pronounce that. And then a Regice that we can make, and they're both 25 gems each. So we should be close to being able to do that in a couple turns, but we might have to wait a few turns to actually finish things off. Okay, so let's move on down. We're producing Pokeballs with a lot of our hammers this turn. Let's move down to the important stuff. So the important stuff is we got an Articuno and a Lugia. So we got an Articuno. Fantastic. This is a Water 5. That's really cool, right? Stats are probably, in my opinion, a little underwhelming for what I would consider to be a legendary creature, and I'm gonna throw that out there, right? To the mod creator, I think the legendaries could be a little higher, right? As far as stats go, like 15s across the board, and maybe like an 18 or something like that in a stat, right? I think that would be pretty cool. I also think 45 hit points is probably a little low for something like a legendary Pokemon. Considering like my Machampions are like 72 hit points. If we take a look at like Pretenders of the World, like we already know Steelixes have a billion hit points, but let's check something like Golem Champion has 72 hit points. Okay. A Raichu only has 20 hit points. That absolutely should have more hit points. What we got? A Miltank has 80 hit points. Here's something squishier. 60 hit points on a Blastoise. 40 hit points on a Butterfree Champion. You know, so like you're telling me an Articuno is basically a Butterfree Champion? That doesn't seem right. As far as like stats and health goes and everything like that. Now, that being said, this Articuno is kind of interesting because it has a bunch of different abilities. It has it only has 19 cold resistance. I think this should probably be like 50. I would imagine in a scenario like Articuno should never be harmed by the cold, period. But they do have a chill 10. They are flying. They have cold power 2. They have Ice Protection 5, which is pretty freaking neat. Okay. So they actually can't. This is the only reason that I'm not bitching about the protection level, is that this Articuno can get very tanky if it's in a cold 3 province, right? Because I believe this is 5 per rank of cold, right? So that it would, in theory, be plus 15 protection. So it'd be a 25 protection. And if I'm wrong about that, just call me out, let me know. But I think that's what that means. And also, interestingly, it spreads cold, right? So it will tank the heat level in a province, which is super thematic and really interesting for an Articuno. Also, and it's not stated here, but double check because I don't want to say it's the wrong thing. Yeah. So it in battle it automatically casts Grip of Winter. So this is what I was talking about with how the legendaries, like the monstrous Pokemon, all have like this spell that they cast at the beginning of battle, which I think is really cool and evocative, right? and it makes them really interesting pretenders, but it also makes them really interesting to go for these quests, right? Because being able to auto cast Grip of Winter, that's not game changing necessarily, but it's really interesting, right? You could put together a basically, like I was talking about earlier, having like a poison army. You could put together an ice army that has, cold resistance, so they're not going to be affected by the Grip of Winter scenario as much. And you run them around with Articuno, and Articuno just freezes the shit out of people. And that'd be really cool. Also, he has some really interesting moves. He's got Blizzard, which is an AoE 1 with a range 100, does a bunch of interesting stuff. Can freeze. Ice Shard, range of 100, ammunition 30, really cool. Ice Beam. So this is interesting. Like, this is a not overpowered, interesting unit. I think the stats could be a little bit higher. Cool. Then there's Lugia. let's just throw this out there. I do not think that this is intended or supposed to be this way, but I cast the spell and this is what I got. And you can probably already see this Lugia came with items. So also note before we get into this, okay, the Lugia costs 50 water gems, but it only required a water 3 to cast. Okay, so significantly easier to get this. Okay, it's an air 3, water 3, astral 3, and it came with crazy fucking items. And you say, just okay. A wing helmet and a bag of winds on their own. That's 65 gems, right? The copper arm is another 20 gems. That's 85 gems. And then the rat tail is only 5 gems. 90 gems, whatever. The rat tail sucks, right? Rat tail sucks. Except I realized, oh shit. See, this Articuno is not a Taskmaster. But this Lugia is. And this Lugia is a Taskmaster because of the fucking rat tail. And now, in fairness, right? I never thought of this because I thought that rat tail was like a stealth item, right? I didn't think that it gave you Taskmaster like shit. Do I still have one? Yeah, I didn't think it did, like, I thought it was stealth boost plus 20, right? I thought it was a Taskmaster boost plus 1, right? I didn't realize that it gave you Taskmaster plus 1, which it does. Which means giving someone a rat tail, giving anybody a rat tail, makes them a Taskmaster, which means they can cast any of the Taskmaster only spells that are the reserved for Pokemon trainer spells, basically. Like all the quests, all of that shit. Those are all Taskmaster only. We ran into that with the Steelix champions, right? And we were like, well shit, we can't do that. Now we can, because we can put a whip on them and now they can be a Taskmaster. Which is why we are actually moving Ininu down here to Kodakar, because next turn, with this rat tail, we're going to be able to equip him at this laboratory. It doesn't matter where we equip him. We could equip him at the Silver Wall. It's irrelevant. But we're going to put him in Silver Wall. I couldn't get him there this turn. I even tried with the Boots of Quickness, unfortunately. But, so 2 turns to get him there, and once we get him there, we're going to start the plan with the future Fist exploration. Because that was a valid plan. We just got thwarted because I was like, oh shit, not a Taskmaster, can't cast this. We're going to have to do it with our Luchadoras here in the future when we can. Not anymore. Nope. Apparently we can just make people Taskmasters whenever we want. So we're probably going to get, this is why I said we're probably going to run out of nature gems. We're probably going to get another 1 or 2 rat tails so that I can move them around whenever I need them. I don't think I need like a crazy amount, but 3 or 4 rat tails I think would be pretty useful to be able to toss them around, because I'm gonna want to have one on Ininu as he moves around and does the future fist exploration. I'm gonna want at least one on a summoner who is consistently basically utilizing them to become a taskmaster so they can do Pokemon quest spams, etc., etc. Okay. So we're gonna see how that goes. And obviously, this is insanity, not just because of the Taskmaster thing. That's a really cool find, but it's because we just got 2 free plus air items. So Lugia is now in Air 5. And we had been belly aching and talking about how are we going to get Rex up to Air 5, right? If we get a Ring of Wizardry, then Rex will be an Air 3, right? And then if we get a Staff of Wizardry, then we can put that on Rex and he'll be an Air 4. And then as an Air 4, he can make a, first of all, I could have just made a winged helmet with Cameron the Photographer, so I could have done that anyways. But I still would have needed to jump through a few hoops to get Rex up high enough, right? Because Cameron can't wear the winged helm, so he could then make a bag of winds. He could make a bag of winds if he got the Ring of Wizardry. Regardless, right? We were gonna be able to get there, but we were gonna have to either do it through Cameron, jumping through some hoops, or we were gonna have to do it through Rex. And the scenario was back and forth on like doing things with Cameron's turn, doing things with Rex's turn, spending gems in certain locations or not other locations, right? Etc. etc. It was gonna be a hefty investment, and it was going to be a couple of turns. And then, bam, we get Silver the Lugia, comes with a winged helmet, comes with the bag of winds, don't have to fucking worry about it anymore. Done. Fantastic. Because this Silver can basically cast any of the shit that we would want to cast. At Thaumaturgy 7, for example, right? We can get a Zapdos, we can get a Rayquaza. We can't do a Ho-Oh, because I don't know that we're ever going to be able to do a Ho-Oh. Actually, we could do a Ho-Oh if we did a Fairy. So I'll keep that in mind. But again, that requires Nature Gems, and we're super low on Nature Gems. And then we can do Raikou. We can actually do Gale-Gate, and that's actually what we're going to be waiting for, right? It's going to take 2 more turns before we get Thaumaturgy 8, and our Lugia can immediately cast Gale-Gate, and we're going to do that. 60 gems. Probably going to dump at least 160 in there, and hopefully have Gale-Gate up for the rest of the game, and use the gems that we get from Gale-Gate to do a Zapdos, to do a Rayquaza, to get a Raikou, maybe to do Queens of Elemental Earth, right? Or Elemental Air, because we have access to that too. And there are definitely other people that can cast this, namely Violet City, right? But I don't know that he's gotten to that point yet. And this opens up so much for us. But this is just the beginning, right? Because this Lugia has multiple slots that he can utilize to be able to do certain things. We can put a Star Sign Skull Cap on him, and he is Astral 4. We can put a Crystal Coin on him. He's Astral 5. We can put a Ring of Sorcery on him. He's Astral 6. And suddenly he can actually cast a lot of Astral stuff. A lot of useful Astral stuff, including potentially things like Latios, Mewtwo Project, MewQuest, etc., right? And that's really cool shit, because I had kind of written these off as being impossible or close to impossible to get because I didn't know about being able to be a Taskmaster, right? And the concept was like, it would take so much to try to get one of my current Taskmasters and build them up to the point to where they were capable of doing something like this, that it just wouldn't be worth it, right? But this, absolutely an option. Now, So that's really cool. That's really, really, really cool. This turn has been super exciting, not only just to give me ease of quality of life with the air options, right? Because that's super, super quality of life. I don't have to spend all those gems. I don't have to spend all those turns, etc. In 2 turns, I'm right out of the gate. I'm going to be able to do Gale Gate. No worries, nothing. But this rat tail discovery, oof, oh my goodness, this is literally just opening up the game for me. I feel like I can do so much now. I can do the Future Fist explorations. I can do other things. Because it's not just the Future Fist explorations, right? It's the Hitmonlee Rampage, right? Only Taskmasters. This one I could actually do with my Luchadoras, but it's still a pain in the ass. The Shiny Machoke Gathering, I couldn't do with my Luchadoras. It's just too much, right? But this I could do. 25 Earth Gems for potentially a good portion of blessable Machokes. I don't think it's worth it in the long run, but it's interesting, right? Same thing with Hitmonchan Madness. These are all interesting spells that I had basically written off, but now I potentially have access to. I will say, I'm way, 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 way more enthusiastic about the various quests, right? Because take this Celebi quest. I'd basically gone, nah, there's no way I can ever get up to Nature 5 on something that is a Taskmaster. Doesn't matter. I don't have to get up to Nature 5 on something that is a Taskmaster. I just have to make something that is Nature 5 a Taskmaster, which is easy for some things, harder for others. This is going to be difficult just because I don't have the nature income, but now I know it's an option, and that's really cool because it gives me something to strive for, and I'm really excited about that. Also, Lugia does Wailing Winds at the beginning of every battle, which we're probably not going to take advantage of ever because this Lugia is probably going to have a Gale Gate on them. But it's still an interesting option, right? I say this Lugia is going to have a Gale Gate on them, but actually I probably won't do that. Next, in 2 turns, I will probably put the Gale Gate up with my god, because there's no real reason not to, right? Next turn, I plan on making a Ring of Wizardry, and the turn after that, once I put the Ring of Wizardry on, he'll be an Air 5, and I can just do Gale Gate with him. So that's perfectly fine. See, there's so many things that are opening now. I'm so excited. These last 10 turns have been very back and forth emotionally for me as far as this game has gone, because I've had these ups and downs where I'm like getting way more invested and interested in the game because I'm able to do more things, because I'm not worried about Olive Eden City as much. And then Olive Eden City came back with like great swords of sharpness and started torching, doing scorched earth tactics, and then I got really depressed about that, and I was like, oh god, not only is this gonna take forever to finish them off, but now it's gonna be that much longer for me to get any sort of payout on the backside of it, right? And then all the Pewter City shit going down. I'm like, okay, well, this feels like this game's basically just over, and I've been forced to fight Olive Eden City for 50,000 years, right? But now we've got Atlantis potentially coming in to help finish things out. I'm doing all of this questing. I'm getting access to interesting things. This is a roller coaster of fun, basically. So I've had a great time with it in the last few turns. I'm really excited to see where things go. We didn't even look at all of the different stuff, but we've got a massive army building up. Massive underwater army building up that we can potentially use. We've got this interesting host of boosters that we're acquiring, which is really good. We're getting to a point to where I'm very happy with the state of the game. Now, the only question though is whether or not, as we look through, right, is whether or not Pewter City just wins the game without ever dealing with us. And that's definitely, what is that? Ah, that was Goldenrod. They just died. Yeah, so it's this question of does Pewter City just win the game by winning the game? by ignoring us um and fighting against probably like the AI and going from there. I don't know. We've got way more vision, by the way, and we're starting to do like instilling uprisings in locations, but should be pretty cool. All right, that is going to be the turn. I will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.